The cold, mashed potatoes hit Elena's lips before she could turn away. Marcus Caldwell's hand gripped the back of her neck, forcing her face toward the plate of half-eaten scraps. "Eat it," he said. His voice was quiet, controlled, deadly. "Every bite, or I sue you for $12,000. Your choice." Elena's hands shook. The entire restaurant had gone silent. 50 people watching. No one moving. No one breathing. "Please," she whispered. "I'm sorry about your suit. It was an accident." Accidents have consequences. Caldwell pushed her face closer to the congealed gravy. "Now eat." Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. And if this story moves you, please subscribe and follow this journey until the very end. Let's see how far this story reaches together. Elena Torres had been a waitress for 8 years. She'd dealt with rude customers, impossible demands, and the occasional wandering hand. But she'd never experienced this, never felt this particular brand of humiliation that came from a man who believed his money made him untouchable. "I said, eat." Caldwell's grip tightened on her neck. Not enough to bruise. He was too smart for that. Just enough to make his point. Elena closed her eyes. A tear rolled down her cheek and fell into someone else's leftover steak. She opened her mouth. "Stop." The word cut through the restaurant like a gunshot. Caldwell's hand froze. Elena's eyes flew open. A man stood 3 tables away. Tall, maybe 6'2", with the kind of posture that came from years of military training. He wore jeans and a dark jacket, nothing remarkable, but something in the way he held himself made the air shift. Beside him sat a dog, not a pet, a Belgian Malinois with alert amber eyes and the muscled build of a working animal. The dog's gaze was locked on Caldwell with predator focus. "I'm sorry," Caldwell said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Did I ask for your opinion?" "You didn't." The man took a step forward. His movements were economical, precise. "But I'm giving it anyway. Let her go." "Do you know who I am?" Marcus Caldwell, CEO of Caldwell Pharmaceuticals. Net worth approximately $2 billion. The man's voice was calm, almost conversational. "You were in the news last month for donating $10 million to children's hospitals. Very generous. Very public." Caldwell released Elena's neck. She stumbled backward, catching herself on a chair. Her entire body was shaking. "I see someone's done their homework." Caldwell adjusted his wine-stained suit jacket. "Then you know I have the resources to make your life very uncomfortable if you continue to interfere." "That's the second threat you've made in the last 2 minutes." The man's eyes were cold. "The first was against her. The second against me. Want to go for 3? The dog rose to its feet. The movement was silent, fluid, but every person in the restaurant felt it. The shift from observation to readiness. Caldwell laughed. "You think I'm afraid of a dog? You should be." The man gestured slightly. The dog moved forward 3 steps and sat again, still watching, still ready. "Ranger here has been trained to detect and neutralize threats. He's very good at his job." "Is that supposed to intimidate me?" "It's supposed to inform you." The man reached into his jacket pocket. Slowly, deliberately. He pulled out a wallet and flipped it open. "Jake Reeves, former Navy SEAL, currently working as a private investigator." Elena saw something flicker across Caldwell's face. Not quite fear, not quite recognition, but something. "And you're investigating what exactly?" Caldwell asked. "That's confidential." Jake pocketed his wallet. "But I'm happy to discuss it. Somewhere private. After you apologize to this young woman and compensate her for your assault." "Assault?" Caldwell's laugh was sharp. "I didn't assault anyone. She spilled wine on a $12,000 suit. I was simply explaining the consequences of her carelessness. By forcing her to eat garbage? Jake's voice remained level, but something dangerous had entered it. That's not explaining consequences. That's abuse. And it's illegal. The restaurant manager appeared, wringing his hands. He was a small man with thinning hair and the desperate look of someone caught between impossible choices. "Mr. Caldwell is one of our most valued customers," the manager said quickly. "I'm sure we can resolve this without involving anyone else. Elena, perhaps you should take the rest of the evening off." Elena's mouth fell open. "You're sending me home?" "With pay, of course." The manager wouldn't meet her eyes. "We just think it's best if you leave before this situation escalates further." "She's not going anywhere." Jake moved to Elena's side, not touching her, not crowding her, just creating a barrier between her and Caldwell. "Not until this is resolved properly." "And who are you to decide that?" The manager's voice rose with panic. "This is my restaurant. I have the right to ask any employee or customer to leave." "Then ask him to leave." Jake pointed at Caldwell. "He assaulted your employee in front of witnesses. That's a crime. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. That's national news if the wrong person recorded it." Elena saw 3 people in the restaurant quickly lower their phones. They'd been filming. Of course they'd been filming. Caldwell saw it too. His jaw tightened. "You're making a mistake, Mr. Reeves." "I've made plenty of mistakes." Jake's voice was quiet now, almost gentle. But standing up for someone who can't stand up for themselves has never been one of them. "Noble." Caldwell buttoned his suit jacket with quick, angry movements. "But nobility doesn't pay legal bills. And I promise you, if you continue down this path, you'll need very expensive lawyers." He started toward the door, then stopped, turned back to Elena. "You still owe me $12,000, he said. "My attorney will be in touch." "No," Jake said. "He won't." Caldwell's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me? Your suit was already damaged before you came in here tonight." Jake pulled out his phone and held up a photo. "See that stain on the left shoulder? That's not wine. That's coffee from this morning. I have time-stamped photos from the parking lot." Silence. "You came in here looking for a reason to humiliate someone," Jake continued. "The wine was convenient, but it wasn't necessary. You were going to do this regardless." Caldwell's face went white, then red. "You've been following me?" "I've been watching you." Jake pocketed his phone. "There's a difference." "I'll have you arrested for stalking." "Go ahead. Call the police. I'd love to explain to them what I've observed over the past 3 weeks." Something changed in Caldwell's expression. The anger drained away, replaced by calculation. "Who hired you?" "No one hired me." Jake's voice went flat. "This is personal." "Personal how?" "That's between you and me." Jake glanced at the manager. "But not here. Not in front of all these people." Caldwell studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Fine. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., my office." "I'll be there." "Come alone." Caldwell's eyes flicked to Ranger. "Leave the dog." "Ranger goes where I go." "Then I guess we have nothing to discuss." Caldwell started for the door again. "Jessica Reeves," Jake said quietly. Caldwell froze. His back was to the restaurant, but Elena saw his shoulders tense. "Does that name mean anything to you?" Jake asked. Caldwell didn't turn around. "Should it?" "She was my sister." Jake's voice cracked slightly, just slightly. "She died 6 months ago. Heart failure. She was 32 years old." "I'm sorry for your loss." Caldwell's voice was carefully neutral. "But I don't see what that has to do with me." She was taking medication for a congenital heart condition. Medication manufactured by Caldwell Pharmaceuticals. The restaurant had gone completely silent again, but this silence was different, heavier. "Millions of people take our medications," Caldwell said. "We can't be held responsible for every adverse reaction." It wasn't an adverse reaction. Jake took a step forward. It was a defective product. The medication she received had half the active ingredient it was supposed to contain. I had it tested, independently. 3 separate labs confirmed it. Caldwell finally turned around. His face was a mask of professional concern. "That's a very serious accusation. Have you reported this to the FDA?" "I've reported it to everyone who would listen." Jake's hands clenched at his sides. "Most of them stopped listening when your lawyers showed up." "Mr. Reeves, if what you're saying is true, then I'm deeply sorry." But manufacturing defects, while rare, do occasionally happen. We have quality control measures in place to prevent exactly this kind of tragedy. If they failed, we'll investigate thoroughly. "You've had 6 months to investigate." Jake's voice was rising now. 6 months. And every time I ask for information, I get legal threats. Every time I request documents, I get denied. Every doctor who tries to help me suddenly decides to retire early. That's not my doing, isn't it? Jake pulled out his phone again, scrolled through something. Dr. Patricia Hammond, cardiologist. She was treating my sister. She wanted to testify about the medication defects. 2 weeks later, her medical license was suspended for unspecified irregularities. She's been a doctor for 25 years without a single complaint. Caldwell's expression didn't change. I can't speak to individual licensing board decisions. Can you speak to the donation your company made to the medical board chairman's re-election campaign? $50,000. The same week Dr. Hammond was suspended. We donate to many campaigns. That doesn't mean... What about Dr. Robert Chen? Jake's voice was hard now. Pharmacist. He refused to fill my sister's last prescription because he suspected the medication was compromised. He reported his concerns to his supervisor. He was fired the next day. I don't know the details of every employment decision made by every pharmacy that carries our products. The pharmacy is owned by your brother-in-law. Elena watched this exchange like a tennis match, back and forth, each revelation more damning than the last. And through it all, Caldwell's face remained perfectly controlled. Too controlled. Mr. Reeves, Caldwell said finally, I understand you're grieving. I understand you want someone to blame. But making wild accusations in a public restaurant isn't going to bring your sister back. No. Jake's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. But it might save someone else's sister. He turned to Elena. How long have you worked here? Elena blinked, surprised to be addressed. 8 years. Has he done this before? The humiliation, the threats. She hesitated. The manager was shaking his head frantically. Caldwell was watching her with those cold, calculating eyes. It's okay, Jake said gently. Tell the truth. Yes, Elena whispered. 3 times that I know of. Different servers. Always someone new. Always someone who makes a small mistake. What happens to them? The other servers? They quit, or they were fired. I'm the only one who stayed. Why? Elena's voice cracked. Because I need this job. My father is sick. He needs medication. Expensive medication. I can't afford to make waves. Jake went very still. What kind of medication? Heart medication. Elena wiped her eyes. He has a pacemaker. The medication keeps his heart rhythm stable. What's the name of the medication? Elena told him. Jake's face went gray. That's the same medication my sister was taking, he said quietly. The same defective medication. Caldwell moved toward the door, fast, but not fast enough. "Ranger!" Jake said. "Guard!" The dog moved, faster than Elena would have thought possible for an animal that size. Ranger positioned himself between Caldwell and the exit, not threatening, not aggressive, just there, immovable. "Call off your dog," Caldwell said. "Answer my question first." Jake pulled out a small notebook. "Elena, where does your father get his medication?" "Riverside Pharmacy, on 14th Street. Jake flipped through pages. "Owned by Thomas Morrison, your brother-in-law," he said, looking at Caldwell. "The same pharmacy that employed Dr. Chen before he was fired." Caldwell's mask finally cracked. Just a little. Just enough to show the rage underneath. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." "Don't I?" Jake moved closer. "You're not just selling defective medication. You're targeting specific populations, people who can't afford lawyers, people who won't make waves, people like my sister, people like Elena's father." "That's insane." "Is it?" Jake's voice was rising again. "Because I've spent 3 months tracking shipments. I know that certain batches of certain medications only go to certain pharmacies. Pharmacies in low-income neighborhoods. Pharmacies where people pay cash because they don't have insurance. Pharmacies where no one asks questions." "You can't prove any of that." "Actually," a new voice said, "he can." Everyone turned. A woman stood in the restaurant entrance, late 30s, Asian, wearing a white coat. A doctor's coat. She walked toward them with the careful precision of someone who'd rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. "Doctor, Sarah Chen," she said, extending her hand to Jake. "Robert's sister. He told me I might find you here." "Dr. Chen." Jake shook her hand. "I didn't expect." "I know. But Robert convinced me it was time." She turned to Caldwell. "Hello, Marcus. It's been a while." Caldwell's face had gone completely white now. "Sarah, I didn't know you were in town." "I'm sure you didn't." Her smile was cold. "Since you had me blacklisted from every hospital within 200 miles. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't you?" Dr. Chen pulled a folder from her bag. "I have documents here. Shipment records, quality control reports, internal emails, all proving that Caldwell Pharmaceuticals has been deliberately manufacturing substandard medications for the past 5 years." The restaurant erupted. Whispers, gasps, the sound of chairs scraping as people pulled out their phones again, recording everything. Caldwell looked around wildly. "This is slander. I'll sue all of you." "You can try." Dr. Chen's voice was steady. "But these documents are already in the hands of the FBI. Agent Williams sends her regards, by the way. She'll be contacting you tomorrow morning. Something about a federal investigation into healthcare fraud." Caldwell's eyes found Jake's. "You set me up." "No," Jake shook his head. "You set yourself up. I just made sure everyone could see it. You came here tonight knowing I'd be here. You knew about the wine stain. You arranged all of this." "I followed you here because I've been following you for 3 weeks," Jake said. "The wine stain was your idea. Humiliating Elena was your choice. All I did was give you enough rope to hang yourself." Caldwell's hands were shaking now, with rage, with fear. Elena couldn't tell which. "This isn't over." "Actually," Dr. Chen said quietly, "it is. Agent Williams has arrest warrants being prepared as we speak. By tomorrow morning, every executive at Caldwell Pharmaceuticals will be in federal custody, including you." Caldwell looked at the exit. Ranger was still there, still watching. He looked at the windows. 3 police cars were pulling up outside, lights flashing. "Someone called the police about a disturbance," Jake said. "Funny how that happens." The officers came in, asked questions, took statements. Elena told them everything. About the humiliation, about the threats, about the other servers. Her hands shook the entire time, but she didn't stop talking. Jake stood beside her, not speaking for her, just being there, a silent support. When the officers asked Caldwell for his statement, he refused to speak without his lawyer. They told him he was free to go, but shouldn't leave the state. He walked out without looking at any of them. After the police left, after the restaurant finally started to empty, Elena found herself sitting at a table with Jake and Dr. Chen. Ranger lay at Jake's feet, finally relaxed. "I don't understand," Elena said. "Why did you help me? You don't even know me." Jake was quiet for a moment. "6 months ago, my sister called me from the hospital. She was dying. She knew it. I knew it. And all she could talk about was how sorry she was. Sorry for being sick. Sorry for being a burden. Sorry for costing me money." His voice broke. She died apologizing for something that wasn't her fault, for being a victim of someone else's greed. And I couldn't save her. I couldn't fix it. I couldn't do anything except hold her hand and lie to her that everything would be okay. He looked at Elena. "When I saw Caldwell forcing you to eat those scraps, making you apologize for his assault, I saw my sister. And I decided that maybe I couldn't save her, but I could damn well make sure he didn't destroy anyone else." Elena wiped her eyes. "What happens now?" "Now?" Dr. Chen said. "Now we have about 12 hours before Caldwell's lawyers start working to bury this. We need to move fast." "What do you need from me?" Elena asked. "Your testimony, your documentation, everything you know about Caldwell's pattern of abuse." "I'll give you whatever you need." Elena's voice was stronger now. "My father's life depends on getting safe medication. If what you're saying is true about the defective batches—" "We need to get him new medication immediately," Jake said. "Tonight. From a different pharmacy. Dr. Chen, can you help with that?" "Already on it." Dr. Chen was typing on her phone. "I have a colleague who can provide a secure supply. What's his prescription?" Elena told her. Dr. Chen made a call. Within 10 minutes, she had arrangements made for Elena's father to receive genuine, verified medication within the hour. "Thank you," Elena whispered. "Thank you so much." "Don't thank us yet," Jake said. "Caldwell isn't going down without a fight. He has money, connections, and a lot to lose. The next few days are going to get very dangerous." "I don't care." Elena met his eyes. "He needs to be stopped." Jake studied her, seeing something, recognizing something. "You've been planning this for a while, haven't you? Documenting everything, waiting for the right moment." Elena nodded slowly. "My cousin Miguel. He owned a catering business. 2 years ago, he catered an event for Caldwell. One of the dishes wasn't prepared exactly how Caldwell wanted. He sued Miguel for breach of contract for $200,000. She took a shaky breath. Miguel couldn't afford to fight it. He settled for half, lost his business, lost his house. 6 months later, he killed himself. Left a note saying he couldn't face his failure. "I'm sorry," Jake said quietly. "It wasn't failure. It was murder." Elena's voice was hard now. "Caldwell murdered him as surely as if he'd pulled a trigger. And I've been waiting, collecting evidence, building a case. But I didn't know how to use it, didn't know who to trust." She looked at both of them. "Until tonight." Dr. Chen smiled. I think we're going to work well together. There's something else, Elena said. Something I haven't told anyone. About the pharmacy. About the medications. Jake leaned forward. What is it? I volunteer at a community clinic on weekends. We serve uninsured patients, low-income families. A lot of them get their medications from Riverside Pharmacy because it's cheapest. She pulled out her phone, showed them a document. I've been tracking adverse events. People who should be getting better but aren't. People whose conditions are worsening despite treatment. I thought it was just bad luck, poverty, lack of access to good health care. But it wasn't, Jake said, understanding. It was systematic. Elena scrolled through more documents. 67 patients over 2 years, all taking Caldwell medications, all showing signs of treatment failure. And when I started digging into their prescriptions, I found something. What? They all came from the same 3 batches, manufactured within the same 2-week period last year, distributed exclusively to pharmacies in low-income neighborhoods. Dr. Chen took the phone, studied the data. Her face went pale. This is incredible. This is exactly what we needed. Jake, she's documented a pattern of deliberate pharmaceutical fraud targeting vulnerable populations. Can you send me this data? Jake asked Elena. I can do better than that. Elena pulled a flash drive from her purse. I have everything backed up. Names, dates, batch numbers, prescription records, 2 years of documentation. Jake took the drive like it was made of gold. Elena, you might have just saved hundreds of lives. I hope so, her voice cracked. Because I've watched too many people die already. They sat in silence for a moment. The restaurant was empty now. The manager had disappeared into his office, probably calling corporate to figure out how to handle the PR nightmare. But none of them moved. What's the next step? Elena finally asked. We need to get this information to Agent Williams tonight, Dr. Chen said. She's waiting for enough evidence to move forward with arrests. This might be it. I'll drive you, Jake said. Both of you. FBI field office is downtown. We can be there in 30 minutes. What about Caldwell? Elena asked. Won't he try to stop us? Jake's smile was grim. He can try. They stood. Ranger immediately came to attention. Dr. Chen gathered her files. Elena grabbed her purse and looked around the restaurant one last time. 8 years of her life spent here. 8 years of abuse, harassment, and humiliation. But tonight, that ended. Ready? Jake asked. Elena nodded. Let's finish this. They walked out together into the night. Behind them, the restaurant's lights went dark. Ahead of them, the city glittered with possibilities. And somewhere in the darkness, Marcus Caldwell was making phone calls, calling in favors, preparing for war. But he didn't know that he'd already lost. He just hadn't realized it yet. The FBI field office was dark except for one window on the 3rd floor. Jake pulled into the parking garage and killed the engine. Ranger's ears perked up, sensing the tension. Agent Williams is expecting us, Dr. Chen said, checking her phone. She's waiting in the conference room. Elena gripped the flash drive in her hand. What if this isn't enough? What if Caldwell's lawyers make it all disappear? They won't. Jake's voice was certain. Not this time. They rode the elevator in silence. When the doors opened, a woman was waiting. Tall, black, early 40s, with steel-gray streaks in her natural hair. She wore a blazer over jeans and looked like she hadn't slept in days. Dr. Chen, she shook hands quickly. Mr. Reeves. And you must be Elena Torres. How did you know my name? I've been investigating Caldwell for 18 months. Your name appears in 17 witness statements. Agent Williams gestured down the hallway. None of those witnesses would testify. You're the first one who's still talking. They followed her to a conference room. Files covered every surface. Whiteboards mapped connections between companies, people, pharmacies. At the center of it all was Marcus Caldwell's photograph. Elena stared at the web of evidence. You've been building this for that long? Longer. Williams pulled out chairs for them. But Caldwell's good at making problems disappear. Witnesses recant. Documents vanish. Investigators get reassigned. She paused. Or they die in convenient accidents. Jake's jaw tightened. Jessica. Your sister's death wasn't an accident, Mr. Reeves. Neither were the deaths of 4 other patients we've identified, all taking the same defective medication, all dying within a 6-month window. Elena felt sick. 5 people? That we know of. Williams took the flash drive from Elena's shaking hand. There are probably more, much more. But proving it requires evidence that Caldwell has spent millions to destroy. She plugged the drive into her laptop. Files began populating the screen. Williams's eyes widened as she scrolled. This is incredible. Patient names, dates, batch numbers, adverse event timelines. She looked at Elena with something like awe. How did you compile all this? I volunteer at a free clinic. I started noticing patterns about a year ago. People who should be getting better weren't improving. Some were getting worse. Elena's voice steadied as she talked about her work. I'm not a doctor, but I know enough to recognize when something's wrong. Did anyone at the clinic notice? I mentioned it to Dr. Okafor, the director. He said he'd look into it. Elena's voice went flat. 2 weeks later, he retired. Sudden decision. Moved to Nigeria. Wouldn't return my calls. Williams and Jake exchanged looks. Caldwell got to him, Jake said. Probably offered him money to disappear, or threatened him. Williams kept scrolling through the data. This is a pattern we've seen repeatedly. Anyone who gets too close to the truth either gets bought off or scared off. Dr. Chen leaned forward. What about the pharmacist I mentioned? My brother, Robert. He was fired for refusing to fill prescriptions he suspected were compromised. I know about Robert. Williams pulled up another file. He was one of our potential witnesses, but without corroborating evidence, his testimony alone wasn't enough. Defense lawyers would paint him as a disgruntled employee with an axe to grind. That's why we need Elena's data, Jake said. It's not just one witness. It's documented patterns across dozens of patients. Williams nodded slowly. This changes everything. With this evidence, I can get arrest warrants by morning. Federal charges for healthcare fraud, conspiracy, manslaughter. She paused. Maybe even murder. Murder? Elena whispered. If we can prove Caldwell knowingly distributed defective medications that resulted in deaths, that's depraved indifference murder. In federal court, that carries life in prison. The room went silent. Then Williams's phone rang. She glanced at the screen, and her face went hard. It's Caldwell's attorney. That was fast. She answered on speaker. Agent Williams? This is Bernard Hastings, representing Marcus Caldwell. The voice was smooth, expensive. I understand you're entertaining wild accusations against my client based on questionable evidence provided by unreliable witnesses. I'm not entertaining anything, Mr. Hastings. I'm conducting a federal investigation. An investigation based on the ravings of a grieving veteran with a grudge and a waitress with a history of mental instability. Elena flinched. Jake's hand found hers under the table and squeezed. You have 10 seconds to tell me why you called, Williams said coldly, or I'm hanging up. I'm calling as a courtesy, to inform you that any attempts to arrest or harass my client will be met with immediate legal action. We have friends in very high places, Agent Williams. Friends who won't appreciate a junior agent overstepping her authority. Are you threatening a federal officer? I'm stating facts. Senator Morrison chairs the committee that oversees FBI funding. He's a personal friend of Mr. Caldwell's, as is Deputy Director Thornton. I believe he's your boss's boss. Williams's expression didn't change, but her knuckles went white on the phone. Noted. Anything else? Yes. The witnesses you're relying on should be very careful. Defamation lawsuits can be financially devastating, especially for people who can't afford lawyers. Elena felt ice in her stomach. That was directed at her. We're done here, Williams said, and hung up. For a moment, no one spoke. They know we're here, Elena said. They know exactly what we're doing. Of course they do. Williams stood and started pacing. Caldwell probably has people watching this building. He knew we'd come here tonight. Then what do we do? Dr. Chen asked. Williams stopped pacing. We move faster than he can react. I'll work through the night getting warrants approved. By dawn tomorrow, we hit every Caldwell facility simultaneously. Headquarters, warehouses, Riverside Pharmacy, everything. And if his friends block the warrants? Jake asked. Then we find another way. Williams's eyes were hard. I've been chasing this man for 18 months. I've watched him destroy lives, buy off witnesses, corrupt officials. I'm not stopping now. Her phone rang again. Different number. She answered without putting it on speaker this time. Her face went pale. When? Pause. How bad? Another pause. I'm on my way. She hung up and looked at Elena. That was the hospital. Your father collapsed 20 minutes ago. He's in the ER. Elena's world tilted. What? His heart. They said he went into cardiac arrest. The paramedics revived him, but he's critical. Elena was already running for the door. Jake and Dr. Chen followed. They piled into Jake's truck, and he drove like the devil was chasing them. Which hospital? He asked. Mercy General. Elena's hands shook so badly she couldn't dial her phone. That's where he always goes. Oh God, this is my fault. This isn't your fault, Dr. Chen said from the back seat. I should have gotten him new medication sooner. I should have... Elena, listen to me. Dr. Chen gripped her shoulder. Your father's medication was probably fine. This might be his underlying condition. Don't blame yourself for something you can't control. But Elena knew better. She'd seen the data. She knew what defective medication could do, and if her father had been taking compromised doses for months. Jake ran 3 red lights getting to the hospital. He pulled up to the emergency entrance and Elena bolted from the truck before it fully stopped. Inside the ER was chaos. Elena found a nurse who directed her to a trauma bay. Her father lay on a gurney, hooked to machines, his face gray. Her mother sat beside him, sobbing. Mama! Elena wrapped her arms around her mother. What happened? He just collapsed. We were watching TV and he said his chest hurt and then he just fell. Her mother's English broke down into rapid Spanish. The doctors, they say his heart, something about his rhythm, I don't understand. A doctor appeared, young, exhausted, kind eyes. Are you Elena Torres? Yes, that's my father, Pablo Torres. Is he going to be okay? We've stabilized him for now, but I need to ask you about his medications. He's been taking cardiazol for his heart rhythm, correct? Yes, for 3 years. The doctor pulled out a tablet and showed her readouts. His levels are dangerously low. The medication should be maintaining therapeutic levels in his bloodstream, but it's barely registering. When did he last take his dose? This morning. He takes it every morning with breakfast. He never misses. That's what concerns me. The doctor's voice dropped. If he's been taking it regularly, but the levels are this low, either his body stopped absorbing it or the medication is defective. Jake said, appearing behind Elena with Dr. Chen. The ER doctor looked up, startled. Who are you? Dr. Chen stepped forward and showed her credentials. Dr. Sarah Chen, formerly of Mass General. That medication your patient is taking? It's part of a defective batch distributed by Caldwell Pharmaceuticals. We have documented evidence of substandard manufacturing. The ER doctor's face went hard. You're telling me this man nearly died because of fake medication? Not fake. Deliberately underdosed. Probably 30 to 50% of the active ingredient. Dr. Chen pulled up Elena's data on her phone. We've documented 67 similar cases. Jesus Christ. The ER doctor grabbed the phone, scrolling rapidly. Then she called out to a nurse. I need the pharmacy to verify every cardiazol prescription we've dispensed in the last 6 months. Cross-reference with adverse cardiac events. Now. Things moved quickly after that. The hospital pharmacy pulled records. Within 30 minutes, they'd identified 11 other patients who'd suffered cardiac events while taking the same medication batch. The hospital administrator was called. Then hospital legal. Then the police. Elena sat with her mother while her father slept, sedated now, stable, but fragile. Jake and Dr. Chen stood guard at the door, while Ranger lay across the threshold. No one was getting to this family. Agent Williams arrived an hour later with 2 other agents. She found them in the family waiting room. The hospital's cooperating fully, she said without preamble. They're testing every batch of cardiazol in their pharmacy. Preliminary results show 4 batches with severely reduced potency, all from Caldwell Pharmaceuticals, all distributed to this hospital and 3 others in low-income neighborhoods. Elena's mother looked up. My husband. The medication almost killed him? Yes, ma'am. William sat down beside her. And we're going to make sure the people responsible pay for it. But he'll be okay now? Elena asked. They can give him real medication? The hospital's already switched him to a different manufacturer. The doctor expects full recovery within a few days. Williams paused. You saved his life, Elena, by documenting those cases, by being brave enough to come forward. You saved him, and probably dozens of others. Elena couldn't speak. She just pressed her face against her mother's shoulder and wept. While they waited for Pablo Torres to wake up, Williams pulled Jake aside. We have a problem, she said quietly. The warrants I was preparing, they're being blocked. Every judge I've approached has suddenly recused themselves or discovered conflicts of interest. Caldwell's making calls. Faster than I anticipated, he's burning favors at an incredible rate. Williams rubbed her eyes. I can probably get the warrants approved by a federal judge in D.C., but that'll take 48 hours minimum, and by then he'll have destroyed everything. Jake finished. Exactly. What if we didn't wait for warrants? Williams gave him a sharp look. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that Caldwell Pharmaceuticals is an active threat to public safety. Those medications are still on shelves, still being dispensed. People are still taking them right now, thinking they're safe. That's not enough for a warrantless search. What about exigent circumstances? Immediate threat to life? Williams was quiet. Then she said, if we could prove there's an imminent danger, if we could show that waiting for warrants would result in additional deaths, then yes, we could move immediately. Elena's father almost died tonight. The hospital just identified 11 other patients affected by the same batch. That's 12 cases in one hospital. How many other hospitals are there in the distribution network? Dr. Chen had been listening. According to the shipment records I have, Caldwell sent defective batches to 43 pharmacies across the state. If we assume similar rates of adverse events, we could be looking at hundreds of people at risk right now. Williams finished. Tonight. She made a decision. I'm calling in the tactical team. We move in 2 hours. I'm coming with you, Jake said. Absolutely not. You're a civilian. I'm a former SEAL with more tactical experience than half your team, and I know the facility layout better than anyone. I've been surveilling it for 3 weeks. Williams hesitated. If you come, you follow orders. You don't engage. You're there as a consultant only. Agreed. Dr. Chen raised her hand. I can help too. You'll need someone who can identify which medications are compromised. I know Caldwell's manufacturing codes. Williams looked at both of them, then at Elena, who had come over to listen. I'm going too, Elena said firmly. That man almost killed my father. I want to see him brought down. You're staying here with your family, Jake said gently. No, I'm not. Elena's voice was steel. You need me. I've worked in that building. I catered events there with my cousin Miguel. I know the security systems, the guard rotations, where the cameras are. You go in blind, and Caldwell will know you're coming before you're through the front door. William studied her. You've thought about this. For 2 years, since Miguel died. Since Caldwell destroyed him. Elena met her eyes. I know every inch of that building, every way in, every way out. And I know which guards can be bribed and which ones are true believers. That's actionable intelligence, Williams admitted. Then use it. Use me. Elena's hands were steady now. I'm not scared anymore. I'm angry, and I want justice. Williams made her decision. Fine, but you stay with me at all times. You don't engage. You identify security vulnerabilities and nothing else. Clear? Crystal. 2 hours later, they were in a parking lot 3 blocks from Caldwell Pharmaceuticals' headquarters. Williams had assembled a team of 12 agents, all in tactical gear. Jake had changed into dark clothing. Ranger wore his canine vest, alert and ready. Elena had drawn a detailed map of the building's interior from memory. Guard posts, camera locations, security checkpoints, everything. The main production facility is in the basement, she explained, pointing to her sketch. That's where they manufacture the medications. Quality control is on the 2nd floor. Executive offices on the 5th floor. That's where Caldwell keeps his files. How do you know about the files? Williams asked. Miguel told me. He catered a private event in Caldwell's office once. He saw file cabinets with security locks. Caldwell made a joke about keeping insurance policies on everyone important. Jake's mind raced. Insurance policies. He's documenting his bribes, keeping evidence of corruption in case he needs leverage. That's what Miguel thought. He said Caldwell called it his insurance. Said as long as he had those files, he was untouchable. Williams smiled grimly. Then that's what we're after. We get those files, we bring down everyone he's corrupted. The whole network collapses. She turned to her team. Listen up. Primary objective is securing the manufacturing facility and seizing any defective medications before they can be distributed. Secondary objective is Caldwell's office on the 5th floor. We need those files intact. What about Caldwell himself? An agent asked. If he's there, we take him into custody. If not, we track him down after. Williams checked her watch. It's 2 a.m. Security should be minimal, but expect resistance. Caldwell has armed guards on site. Elena felt her heart racing. This was really happening. Jake noticed. He put a hand on her shoulder. You can still back out. No one would blame you. I'm not backing out. Elena's voice was firm. Let's end this. They moved out in 3 teams. Williams and Elena went with the primary team through the front entrance. Jake and Ranger went with the secondary team through the loading dock. Dr. Chen stayed with the tactical van, ready to identify medications once the facility was secure. Ina's hands shook as they approached the building. The guard at the front desk looked up, startled to see armed federal agents. FBI, we're executing a search under exigent circumstances. Williams showed her badge. Step away from the desk and put your hands where I can see them." The guard reached for something. An alarm. Williams moved faster, pinning his hand to the desk. "Don't even think about it." But he'd already hit the button. Alarms shrieked throughout the building. Red lights flashed. Elena's heart sank. "They know we're here," she said. "Then we move fast." Williams zip-tied the guard and pushed forward. "All teams, proceed to objectives. We're compromised." They ran through the lobby. Elena directed them to the stairs. The elevator would be disabled by now. They climbed quickly, agents clearing each floor as they went. On the 5th floor, they found Caldwell's office door open. Inside, a man was frantically feeding documents into an industrial shredder. "FBI! Step away from the shredder!" The man turned. It was Caldwell himself. He smiled coldly. "You're too late, Agent Williams. Everything you came for is already gone." "I don't think so." Williams gestured, and 2 agents grabbed Caldwell, pulling him away from the machine. Elena ran to the shredder and hit the emergency stop. Paper fragments spilled out. But behind the shredder, she saw something. A wall safe, partially hidden by a cabinet. "Here!" she called. Williams came over. "Can you open it?" "Not without the combination." Jake's voice crackled over the radio. "We've secured the basement, found the defective medications, thousands of units ready for shipment." "Copy that," Williams responded. Then she turned to Caldwell. "Last chance. Give me the combination to that safe." Caldwell laughed. "You have nothing. No warrants, no legal authority. Everything you're doing right now is inadmissible. My lawyers will have you all fired by morning." "Maybe." Williams pulled out her phone and played a recording. Caldwell's voice, crystal clear, threatening Bernard Hastings earlier. "But we have you on tape threatening a federal investigation. We have documented evidence of healthcare fraud. We have medications that nearly killed 12 people tonight alone. And we have you, caught in the act of destroying evidence." She leaned close. "Your insurance policies won't save you this time, Marcus. Give me that combination, or I add obstruction of justice to your charges." Caldwell's smile finally cracked. "The combination," Williams repeated. "Now." He gave it. 6 digits. Williams opened the safe and pulled out dozens of files. Names, dates, amounts. A complete record of every bribe, every payoff, every corrupt deal Caldwell had made in 15 years. Senator Morrison, Deputy Director Thornton, 3 judges, 7 hospital administrators, 12 pharmaceutical inspectors. All of it documented, all of it evidence. Williams looked at Caldwell with something like pity. "You just handed me everyone who could have protected you. You know that, right?" Caldwell's face went white. He'd been so focused on destroying the files, he'd forgotten. The safe was his leverage, and he'd just given it away. "Marcus Caldwell, you're under arrest for healthcare fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice." Williams nodded to her agents. They cuffed him and read him his rights. As they led him away, Caldwell's eyes found Elena's. "This isn't over. You have no idea what you've started." "No," Elena said quietly. "You have no idea what you started. 2 years ago, when you destroyed my cousin. 6 months ago, when you killed Jake's sister. Tonight, when you almost killed my father. This is you reaping what you sowed." Caldwell was silent. Then they took him away. Elena stood in the office, surrounded by federal agents and evidence of corruption so deep it made her dizzy. She thought about Miguel, about Jessica, about her father lying in a hospital bed, about all the people who'd suffered while this man grew rich on their pain. And she thought about how close they'd come to losing, How easily Caldwell could have destroyed everything if they'd waited even one more hour. Jake appeared in the doorway, Ranger at his side. "You okay?" "I think so." Elena's voice shook. "Is it really over?" "The arrest is just the beginning. There's still the trial, the investigation into everyone in those files, the lawsuits from victims." He smiled slightly. "But yeah, the worst part is over." Elena nodded. Then her knees gave out. Jake caught her before she hit the floor. She wasn't crying. She was laughing. Huge, gasping laughs of relief and exhaustion and pure emotional overload. "Easy," Jake said gently. "You're okay. You did good." "I can't believe we actually did it." "Believe it." Williams came over. "Elena, I need you to give a full statement. Everything you know, everything you documented. Can you do that?" "Yes, absolutely yes." "Good, because we're going to need you to testify. This case is going to be huge. National news, congressional hearings, the whole thing." Elena took a deep breath. "I'm ready." And she was. For the first time in 2 years, she was ready to fight back, to speak up, to make sure Miguel's death meant something. They'd won the first battle, but the war was just beginning. The phone call came at 4 in the morning. Jake was still at the FBI field office, going through Caldwell's files with Williams when her phone lit up. She answered, and her face went pale. "When?" She listened. "How is that possible? We have him in custody." She hung up and looked at Jake. "Caldwell posted bail 20 minutes ago." "That's impossible. Federal charges, flight risk. He shouldn't even have had a bail hearing until Monday." "Emergency hearing. Judge Richardson approved it. $2 million bond." Williams's jaw was tight. "Judge Richardson is in Caldwell's files. He took $300,000 in campaign contributions last year." "You're telling me a corrupt judge just released the man we arrested 3 hours ago?" "That's exactly what I'm telling you." Williams was already grabbing her jacket. "And it gets worse. Caldwell's lawyer filed a motion to suppress all evidence seized tonight. Claims we violated his Fourth Amendment rights with an illegal search." Jake felt cold. "Will it work?" "It might. We pushed the exigent circumstances argument hard. But if a judge decides we overstepped, everything we found becomes inadmissible. The files, the medications, all of it." "Then we have nothing." "We have Elena's testimony. We have Dr. Chen's analysis. We have the hospital records." Williams paused. "But without physical evidence linking Caldwell directly to the defective medications, it becomes he said, she said. And Caldwell has better lawyers." Jake's phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. He opened it and his blood froze. It was a photograph. Elena leaving the hospital with her mother, taken from across the parking lot. The message below read, "Brave girl. Shame about what's going to happen to her family." He showed Williams. She swore viciously. "He's threatening her. Already." "Not threatening. Promising." Jake was already dialing Elena's number. It rang 6 times before she answered, voice thick with sleep. "Jake, what's wrong?" "Where are you right now?" "At the hospital. I'm staying with my father tonight. Why?" "Don't leave that building. Don't go anywhere alone. Caldwell made bail." Silence. Then, "How?" "Corrupt judge, doesn't matter. What matters is you're in danger. He knows you're the key witness. Without your testimony, his lawyers can tear apart the case." "So what do I do? Hide forever?" For now, you stay in a public place with security cameras. I'm sending 2 agents to the hospital. They'll stay with you until we can arrange protective custody. Elena's voice hardened. I'm not going into hiding. Elena, this man has already demonstrated he's willing to kill to protect himself. Your cousin Miguel, my sister Jessica, all those patients. You think he'll hesitate to eliminate you? Let him try. Her anger was clear now. I'm done being scared of Marcus Caldwell. Being brave and being stupid are 2 different things. And being cautious and being a coward are 2 different things? Elena's voice cracked slightly. Jake, I appreciate what you're trying to do. But I can't live my life looking over my shoulder. If I run now, if I hide, then he wins. He always wins. That's how he's operated for 15 years. Scare people into silence. Jake understood. He really did. But understanding didn't make it easier. At least let us protect you. Fine. Send your agents. But I'm not going into protective custody. I'm going to work tomorrow. I'm going to live my life. And when the trial comes, I'm going to testify and watch that man go to prison. She hung up. Jake stood there, holding his phone, feeling helpless. She's got courage, Williams said quietly. I'll give her that. Courage gets you killed. Sometimes. Sometimes it changes the world. Williams pulled up a file on her laptop. The problem is, she's right. If she hides, if she backs down, Caldwell's lawyers will paint her as unreliable. They'll say she fabricated evidence because she's mentally unstable or seeking attention. Her testimony loses credibility. And if she doesn't hide? Then she's a sitting duck. Williams rubbed her eyes. We need to move faster. Get the case to trial before Caldwell can intimidate more witnesses or destroy more evidence. How long? Normal timeline? 6 months to a year? We don't have 6 months. I know. Williams made a decision. I'm calling the U.S. attorney. We need an expedited hearing. This case is too important to let it drag out. While Williams made calls, Jake went through more of Caldwell's files. What he found made him sick. Evidence of systematic corruption spanning 15 years. Hundreds of doctors paid to prescribe Caldwell medications. Pharmacists bribed to stock defective batches in low-income neighborhoods. Inspectors who looked the other way during quality control failures. And then he found Jessica's file. His hands shook as he opened it. Inside were medical records, prescription history, and a note in Caldwell's handwriting. Jessica Reeves, Navy family, brother is SEAL, high risk for investigation if adverse event occurs. Recommend standard protocol. Standard protocol. Like she was a business problem to be managed, not a human being. Jake kept reading. The note continued. If necessary, implement containment strategy. Target attending physician. Discredit brother's military record. Standard settlement offer if family pursues legal action. They'd planned for Jessica's death, anticipated it, prepared for it, and when it happened, they'd executed their playbook perfectly. Her doctor had suddenly retired. Jake's attempts to investigate had been stonewalled, and when he'd tried to hire lawyers, they'd all mysteriously declined to take the case. Caldwell had murdered his sister and then covered it up with the efficiency of a man who'd done it many times before. Jake's vision blurred. Ranger whined softly beside him, sensing his distress. Found something? Williams appeared behind him. Jake couldn't speak. He just handed her the file. Williams read it. Her expression went from professional to furious. This is premeditation. He knew the medications would kill people, and he planned how to cover it up in advance. Can you use this in court? If the evidence doesn't get suppressed, yes. This proves consciousness of guilt, proves he knew the medications were defective and distributed them anyway. Williams pulled out her phone. I'm calling the U.S. attorney right now. This changes everything. But before she could dial, an explosion rocked the building. The windows rattled. Car alarms started shrieking outside. Jake ran to the window. 3 blocks away, a building was on fire. Orange flames lit up the pre-dawn sky. "That's the evidence warehouse," Williams said, her voice dead. "Where we stored the medications we seized tonight." They stared in horror as the building burned. Fire trucks were already responding, but Jake knew it was too late. Everything inside that warehouse was gone. Williams's phone rang. She answered, listened, and her face went gray. "Understood. Yes, we're on our way." She hung up. "That was the U.S. attorney. He's dropping the charges against Caldwell. Says without physical evidence, we don't have a case." "What about the files? The documentation we found in his office?" "Caldwell's lawyer is arguing they're privileged. Work product. Not admissible." Williams slammed her fist on the desk. "He's going to walk. After everything we did, he's going to walk." "No." Jake's voice was cold. "He's not." "Jake, what are you—" "I'm going to finish this, the way I should have from the beginning." "Don't do anything stupid. If you go after Caldwell outside the law, you'll end up in prison." "Then I'll end up in prison." Jake stood. "But at least Jessica will have justice." Williams grabbed his arm. "Wait. Just wait. Give me 48 hours. I can still salvage this." "How?" "Elena's testimony. Dr. Chen's analysis. The hospital records. It's not as strong as physical evidence, but it's enough to bring charges. Maybe not murder, but fraud, conspiracy, something that'll stick." Jake wanted to believe her, but he'd seen too much corruption, too many powerful men escape justice. 48 hours. Then I'd do this my way. "Fair enough." Jake left with Ranger. He drove to the hospital, checking his mirrors constantly for tails. Nothing obvious. But Caldwell had resources. Professional surveillance wouldn't be easy to spot. He found Elena in the ICU waiting room. Her father was sleeping peacefully now, his heart rhythm stable on the monitors. Her mother dozed in a chair beside the bed. Elena looked up when Jake entered. "I heard about the warehouse. It was on the news." Caldwell's cleaning up loose ends. "The evidence is gone?" "All of it. The medications, the testing equipment, everything we seized from the manufacturing facility." Jake sat down heavily. "The U.S. attorney is dropping charges." Elena's face crumpled. "So he wins. After everything, he just wins." "Not yet. Williams still has your testimony, and the files from Caldwell's safe. If the judge doesn't suppress them, we can still build a case." "You don't sound convinced." "I'm not." Jake was too tired to lie. Caldwell has spent 15 years building a network of corrupt officials. He knows how to work the system, how to make evidence disappear and witnesses recant. "I won't recant." "I know you won't. That's what scares me." Jake looked at her directly. "Elena, you need to understand what you're up against. Caldwell will use every weapon he has to discredit you. They'll dig into your past, find anything they can use, old relationships, financial problems, anything that makes you look unreliable." "I don't have anything to hide." "Everyone has something." Jake's voice was gentle. "And even if you're perfect, they'll invent things, leak false stories to the press, plant evidence of mental instability. It's what they do." Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "My cousin Miguel had a gambling problem. Nothing serious, just small bets on sports games. But he owed money to some people. Not dangerous people, just friends. Debts he was slowly paying off." She met Jake's eyes. "After Caldwell sued him, after Miguel lost everything, someone leaked that information to the press, made it sound like he was in debt to organized crime, that his catering business was a front for money laundering. It destroyed his reputation. He couldn't get work, couldn't get loans, couldn't function. That's what drove him to suicide. The lawsuit took his business. The lies took his dignity. Elena's voice broke. I'm not naive, Jake. I know what Caldwell will do to me. But I also know that if I back down, he'll do it to someone else. And I can't live with that. Before Jake could respond, his phone rang. Williams. We have a problem. Caldwell's not at his residence. He's not at his office. We've lost track of him. What do you mean, lost track? I mean, he posted bail 4 hours ago and disappeared. His ankle monitor was found in a trash can near the courthouse. He's in the wind. Jake's stomach dropped. Flight risk. He's running. That's what I thought, but his passport was flagged. He hasn't left the country. His credit cards haven't been used. His phone is off. Williams paused. Jake, I think he's still in the city. And I think he's planning something. Jake looked at Elena. I need to go. What's happening? Caldwell's missing. Stay here. Don't leave the hospital. The agents I sent should be there any minute. He ran for the elevator. Ranger kept pace beside him. In the truck, he called Williams back. Where was the ankle monitor found? Near the federal courthouse, downtown. That's 6 blocks from the FBI field office. 6 blocks from where we're holding the evidence files. You think he's going after the files? I think he's going after everyone who can hurt him. The files are just the start. Jake's mind raced. Williams, where's Dr. Chen? At her hotel, the Marriott on 5th Street. Why? Because she's a witness. She can testify about the defective medications. If Caldwell eliminates her, I'm sending a team right now. Jake hung up and floored it. The hotel was 10 minutes away. He made it in 6, running red lights the entire way. The lobby was empty except for a night clerk who looked half asleep. Jake took the stairs 3 at a time. Dr. Chen's room was on the 4th floor. He knocked hard. Dr. Chen, it's Jake Reeves. Open up. No answer. He knocked again. Sarah, are you in there? The door to the next room opened. An elderly man in pajamas glared out. Do you know what time it is? Have you heard anything from this room? Any noise, voices, anything? Not since about midnight. Some men were talking, then quiet. Men. Plural. Jake's blood went cold. He stepped back and kicked the door. Once. Twice. The lock splintered and the door flew open. The room was empty. Dr. Chen's laptop was gone. Her files were gone. Her suitcase was gone. But her phone was on the nightstand, screen cracked, like it had been thrown. Jake picked it up. The last text message was to Williams, sent at 11:47 p.m. Someone's at my door. Didn't order room service. Should I answer? 90 minutes ago. Before the warehouse explosion. Before Caldwell disappeared. Jake called Williams. They took her. Caldwell or his people. They took Dr. Chen. How do you know? Because her room is cleaned out, but her phone is here, and she texted you right before it happened, asking if she should answer her door. Williams swore. We need to find her. If Caldwell has her, if he's using her as leverage. It's not just leverage. Jake's voice was grim. She's the only person who can definitively identify the defective medications. With the warehouse burned and the physical evidence gone, her testimony is critical. If he eliminates her... His phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Another text. This time, it was a video. Jake's hands shook as he pressed play. The video showed Dr. Chen tied to a chair in what looked like a warehouse. Her face was bruised. Blood trickled from her nose. Caldwell stepped into frame. Hello, Mr. Reeves. I believe you have something that belongs to me. The files from my office. I want them back. Don't give him anything, Dr. Chen said. Her voice was steady, despite the fear in her eyes. He's going to kill me anyway. Caldwell backhanded her. The sound was sickening even through the phone's tiny speaker. As the good doctor so helpfully pointed out, her survival depends entirely on your cooperation. Caldwell smiled at the camera. You have 2 hours to deliver those files to the address I'm about to send you. Come alone. Bring the dog if you must, but no police, no FBI, no agents. Just you and the files. He leaned closer to the camera. If I see any sign of law enforcement, Dr. Chen dies. If you don't show up in 2 hours, she dies. If you call the FBI, she dies. If you try to be a hero, she dies. Are we clear? The video ended. A new text appeared with an address, an abandoned factory on the outskirts of town. Jake stared at the phone. Every instinct told him it was a trap. Caldwell wasn't going to release Dr. Chen even if Jake brought the files. He was going to kill them both and destroy the evidence. But what choice did he have? Williams called. Did you get a video? You saw it too? He sent it to me, to Elena, to the U.S. attorney, to everyone involved in the case. Williams's voice was tight. It's a message. He's showing us how powerless we are. I'm going to get her. Jake, no! It's a trap! You know it's a trap! I don't care. Then you're an idiot. He'll kill you both. Maybe, but I can't just leave her there. Jake thought about Jessica, dying alone in a hospital bed while he was deployed overseas. Thought about all the times he'd been too late to save someone. I won't make that mistake again. Then let me send a tactical team. We can coordinate a rescue. He said no police, no FBI. He'll be watching for that. Jake, please, think this through. I am thinking it through. Jake headed for the stairs. I'm a trained SEAL. I've done hostage rescues in worse conditions against better armed opponents. I can get her out. And if you can't, then at least I tried. He hung up before Williams could argue further. In the truck, Ranger was alert, sensing the urgency. Jake scratched the dog's ears. It's just you and me, boy. Like old times. Ranger's tail wagged once. Ready. Jake drove to the FBI field office. He needed those files, not to give to Caldwell, but to copy them. Insurance. If this went wrong, if he didn't make it out, at least the evidence would survive. The building was nearly empty at 5 in the morning, a skeleton crew. Jake used his temporary credentials to access the conference room where they'd been working. The files were still there, spread across the table. He spent 20 minutes photographing every page with his phone. Names, amounts, dates, account numbers, everything. Then he uploaded it all to a secure cloud server with instructions to send copies to every major news outlet if he didn't check in within 12 hours. Dead man's switch. If Caldwell killed him, the whole world would see what he'd done. Jake gathered the physical files and headed for the door. Williams was waiting in the hallway. You can't stop me, he said. I'm not trying to. She held out a ballistic vest. But you're not going in there unprotected. Jake took the vest. Thank you. There's a tracker sewn into the lining. If things go wrong, I'll know where you are. Williams, don't thank me. Just bring her home alive. Williams's voice was rough. And come back yourself. We still need your testimony. Jake nodded and left. The sun was starting to rise as he drove toward the address Caldwell had sent. The factory was in an industrial area that had been abandoned for years. Rusted metal, broken windows, graffiti on every surface. Perfect place for an ambush. Jake parked a block away and approached on foot. Rangers stayed close, silent, and focused. They'd done this dance 100 times in Afghanistan. Clear the building, locate the hostage, neutralize threats, extract. But this time, Jake was alone. No team, no backup, no support. Just him, his dog, and a very dangerous man who had nothing left to lose. He reached the factory entrance. The door was open, waiting for him. Jake checked his watch. 90 minutes since the video. He was early. Good. Maybe catch Caldwell off guard. He stepped inside. The factory floor was massive, empty, echoing. Somewhere in the darkness, water dripped. Metal creaked in the wind. "Hello, Mr. Reeves," Caldwell's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. Speakers. He'd set up speakers throughout the building. "I'm impressed you came. I thought surely Agent Williams would talk you out of this foolishness." "Where's Dr. Chen?" Jake called out. "She's here. Alive. For now," Caldwell laughed. "Did you bring my files?" Jake held up the folder. "I brought them. Now let her go." "Do you think I'm stupid? First, I need to verify they're all there. Set them down and step back." Jake set the folder on the ground. Immediately, 3 men in tactical gear emerged from the shadows. Not police, not security guards. Private contractors. Mercenaries. They were armed. Ranger growled low in his throat. Jake's hand touched the dog's head. "Not yet." One of the mercenaries picked up the folder and flipped through it quickly. Then he spoke into a radio. "Files are here. All of them." "Excellent." Caldwell's voice was pleased. "Now, Mr. Reeves, I'm afraid I have bad news." "You're not letting her go." "Oh, I'm letting her go. Just not in the way you expected." A door opened on the second-floor catwalk. Dr. Chen was shoved out, hands still bound. She stumbled to the railing. Behind her, another mercenary held a gun to her head. "You have a choice," Caldwell said. "You can try to save Dr. Chen and die in the process, or you can walk away right now and live. Your call." Jake looked up at Sarah. She shook her head slightly. "Don't do it. Walk away." But he'd walked away too many times, let too many people die while he followed orders or played it safe. Not this time. "Ranger," Jake said quietly. "Find." The dog exploded into motion. Ranger hit the first mercenary before the man could raise his weapon. 70 pounds of trained muscle and fury drove him backward. The gun clattered across concrete. Jake was already moving, muscle memory from 1,000 combat situations taking over. The second mercenary swung his rifle around. Jake closed the distance, deflected the barrel, and drove his elbow into the man's throat. The mercenary went down, gasping. The third opened fire. Bullets sparked off metal beams. Jake dove behind a rusted machine press. Ranger circled wide, flanking. "Kill them both!" Caldwell's voice shrieked through the speaker. More mercenaries poured out from hidden positions. 6, 8, 10. Jake's heart sank. Too many. Even with Ranger, this was too many. But on the catwalk above, Dr. Chen wasn't waiting to be saved. She drove her elbow backward into her guard's stomach, then slammed her head into his face. Blood exploded from his nose. The gun fell from his hand. Sarah dove for it. Her hands were still bound, but she managed to grip it, roll, and fire. The shot went wide, but it scattered the mercenaries below, giving Jake precious seconds. He ran for the stairs leading to the catwalk. Ranger took down another mercenary who tried to intercept. The dog's training was flawless, brutal, efficient. Jake reached the stairs. Bullets chewed into the metal behind him. He took the steps 3 at a time. Above, Sarah was struggling with her guard, trying to keep the gun. They fought at the railing's edge. "Sarah, down!" Jake shouted. She dropped. Jake fired twice. The mercenary stumbled backward and collapsed. Jake reached her, pulled out his knife, and cut her bonds. "Can you walk?" "I can run." Blood dripped from her mouth, but her eyes were clear. "Jake, there's something you need to know about Caldwell." An explosion rocked the building. The catwalk shuddered. Metal groaned. Part of the structure collapsed, creating a gap between them and the exit. "He's bringing the whole place down!" Sarah grabbed Jake's arm. "He wired it with explosives. He told me before you got here. Said if he couldn't have his empire, no one would have the evidence." Jake looked down. The mercenaries were retreating, running for the exits. They knew what was coming. Another explosion, closer. The catwalk tilted dangerously. "We need to jump," Jake pointed to a pile of old shipping pallets 15 feet below. Not a good landing, but better than falling from a collapsing structure. "You're insane!"
Do you have a better idea?
The catwalk shrieked as rivets popped. Sarah looked at the pallets, at Jake, then nodded. "Together?" "Together." They jumped. The impact knocked the wind from Jake's lungs. Pain shot through his ankle, but nothing broke. Sarah landed beside him, rolled, came up favoring her left arm. "Ranger!" Jake called. The dog appeared at the edge of the catwalk above, calculating. Then he leaped, landing with predator grace beside them. They ran. Behind them, the factory was tearing itself apart. Explosions marched through the building in sequence, timed, professional. Caldwell had planned this meticulously. Jake's truck was a block away. They made it with seconds to spare. The factory collapsed behind them in a roar of twisted metal and concrete dust. Jake drove, hands shaking on the wheel. Sarah was calling Williams, telling her everything. Ranger panted in the back seat, adrenaline still pumping. "He's going to destroy everything," Sarah said after hanging up. "The factory wasn't just about killing us. It was about sending a message. He's burned the evidence warehouse, collapsed the factory where we found him. He's erasing his trail." "The files," Jake said. "I photographed them, uploaded everything to a secure server." Sarah's eyes widened. "You beautiful idiot. He doesn't know?" "Not unless he checks my phone in the last hour." "Then we still have him," Sarah laughed, slightly hysterical. "We actually still have him." Jake's phone rang. Williams again. "Tell me you're both alive," she said, without preamble. "Alive. Injured, but functional." "Good, because I need you at the federal courthouse in 1 hour. Emergency grand jury hearing. The U.S. attorney changed his mind." "Why?" "Because 30 minutes ago, someone leaked Caldwell's files to every major news outlet in the country. CNN, Fox, MSNBC, The Times, The Post, everyone. It's everywhere."
Names, amounts, evidence of corruption at every level.
Jake looked at Sarah. She shook her head. "Wasn't me."
"Wasn't me either," Jake said into the phone. Williams was quiet for a moment. "Then who?" The answer hit Jake like lightning. Elena. He'd sent her copies of the photographs before going to the factory. Insurance, he'd thought. But Elena had done what he should have expected. She'd gone on the offensive. "She released everything," Jake said, almost in awe. "While we were trying to save Dr. Chen, Elena was making sure Caldwell couldn't bury the truth anymore." "She's at the courthouse now," Williams said, "with her parents, a team of volunteer lawyers, and about 50 reporters. She's holding a press conference in 20 minutes. Jake turned the truck toward downtown. "We'll be there." The courthouse steps were packed. Cameras, microphones, reporters shouting questions. And in the center of it all stood Elena Torres, no longer the scared waitress from the restaurant. She wore a simple dress, her hair pulled back, and spoke into a microphone with perfect clarity. "My name is Elena Torres. 2 nights ago, Marcus Caldwell forced me to eat leftover food in front of a restaurant full of people because I accidentally spilled wine on his suit. He humiliated me. He threatened to sue me for $12,000. He made me feel worthless." Her voice never wavered. But that was just the beginning of his crimes. For 15 years, Marcus Caldwell has been distributing defective medications to low-income communities. Medications that were supposed to save lives, but instead endangered them. My father nearly died from one of these medications. A woman named Jessica Reeves did die. So did hundreds of others. Jake pushed through the crowd with Sarah and Ranger. Elena saw them, smiled slightly, and continued. "Last night, the FBI arrested Mr. Caldwell. This morning, a corrupt judge released him on bail. Within hours, Caldwell destroyed evidence, kidnapped a witness, and tried to kill 2 people who were investigating him." Elena held up her phone. But he made one mistake. He underestimated how many people were tired of being afraid. She looked directly at the cameras. "The files I've released today prove everything. They show years of bribes, corruption, and deliberate harm to vulnerable people. They name names. Senators, judges, hospital administrators, FDA inspectors. All of them took money from Caldwell. All of them looked the other way while people died." A reporter shouted, "Are you afraid of retaliation?" "Terrified," Elena said honestly. "Marcus Caldwell has already destroyed my cousin's life and driven him to suicide. He's threatened my family. He's tried to silence me. But I'm done being silent. We're all done being silent." She gestured to the crowd behind her. Jake saw dozens of people holding signs, photos of loved ones, names of the dead. A whole community of victims finding their voice. "This ends today," Elena said. "Not because of the FBI, though they've been incredible. Not because of lawyers or investigators, but because ordinary people decided to stand up and tell the truth. That's how you defeat corruption, not with violence, not with money, but with courage and honesty and the refusal to look away." The crowd erupted in applause. Jake felt something breaking inside him. Pride, grief, hope, all mixed together. Williams appeared beside him. "The grand jury is convening in 15 minutes. They've already issued new arrest warrants for Caldwell and 17 co-conspirators. This time, no bail. No corrupt judges. Federal custody until trial." "Where is Caldwell now?" "Still in the wind, but with the story breaking nationally, he can't hide forever. Every airport, every border crossing, every law enforcement agency in the country is looking for him." "He won't run," Jake said quietly. "How do you know?" "Because men like Caldwell don't run. They fight back." Jake scanned the crowd, looking for threats. "He's going to make one last move, something desperate, something designed to destroy everyone who hurt him." "Like what?" Jake's blood went cold as the realization hit. "The medications. The defective batches. We seized the ones at the warehouse and the manufacturing facility. But there are still thousands of units out there, in pharmacies, in people's homes, being taken right now by patients who trust they're safe." Sarah grabbed his arm. "He could trigger a mass casualty event, contaminate a new batch, release something into the supply chain that's not just defective but actively poisonous." "He'd kill hundreds of people just for revenge?" Williams asked. He's already killed hundreds, Jake said.
What's a few more if it means everyone who betrayed him goes down with him? Williams was already on her phone, issuing orders. I need immediate recalls on every Caldwell medication in distribution. Contact the FDA, CDC, every pharmacy chain. Get those medications off shelves now. But Jake knew it was too late. Caldwell had hours of head start. He could have done anything in that time. Elena finished her press conference and made her way to Jake. Her parents flanked her, her father looking weak but determined, her mother fierce and protective. You saw? Elena asked. You were amazing. I was terrified. Still am. She glanced at the reporters packing up equipment. But my cousin Miguel used to say, fear is just your body getting ready to do something important. So I used it. Miguel would be proud. Elena's eyes filled with tears. I hope so. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it and frowned. Unknown number. Don't answer it, Jake said immediately. But Elena had already pressed the button. She put it on speaker. Hello, Miss Torres. Caldwell's voice was calm. Too calm. The voice of a man who'd accepted he'd lost, but wasn't going down alone. Congratulations on your press conference. Very moving. Very brave. Where are you? Elena demanded. Somewhere safe. For now. Caldwell laughed softly. I wanted to call and thank you, personally. You've destroyed everything I built. My company, my reputation, my freedom. All gone because of a clumsy waitress and her self-righteous friends. You destroyed yourself. We just made sure everyone could see it. Perhaps. But here's what you don't see. Caldwell's voice hardened. In approximately 10 minutes, 6 hospitals across the city will receive emergency shipments of cardiac medications. Medications desperately needed for critical patients. Medications that I personally altered this morning to contain 10 times the normal dose of active ingredients. Jake grabbed the phone. You're lying. Am I? Test me, Mr. Reeves. Call those hospitals. Check their delivery logs. See if I'm bluffing. Williams was already making calls. Her face went white. He's telling the truth. Mercy General just accepted a delivery. So did St. Anthony's. Emergency orders for cardiozol marked urgent priority. Stop those deliveries, Jake shouted. We're trying, but some have already been distributed to patients. Some have already been administered. Caldwell's laughter echoed through the phone. You have a choice, Miss Torres. You can continue your crusade, testify at my trial, send me to prison. Or you can withdraw everything, recant your testimony, admit you fabricated evidence, and I'll tell you which batches are poisoned so you can save those patients. You're insane, Elena whispered. I'm a businessman making a final negotiation. What's more important to you? Justice for your cousin? Or the lives of 6 innocent people who are about to go into cardiac arrest? Elena looked at Jake with desperate eyes. He shook his head. Don't do it. Don't let him win. But before she could respond, a new voice came through the phone. Marcus Caldwell, this is Deputy Director Thompson, FBI. We have your location. We're coming for you now. You're bluffing. The tracker in the phone you're using says otherwise. You're in the basement of your own headquarters building, surrounded by files you're trying to burn. We can see the smoke from here. Silence on the line. Then, it doesn't matter. The medications are already distributed. People are already dying. And the only way to save them is if Miss Torres recants. Clock's ticking. The call ended. Williams was coordinating with hospitals, trying to identify which batches were contaminated. But it was chaos. 6 hospitals, dozens of patients, hundreds of doses. Elena turned to Jake.
What do I do?
You don't recant. You don't give in to terrorism.
People are dying.
People are always dying because of men like Caldwell. If you give in now, it doesn't stop. He'll use this leverage forever. There will always be another threat, another batch, another crisis. Elena's hands shook.
I can't let people die just to maintain my principles.
And I can't let you sacrifice everything we've fought for. Jake gripped her shoulders. Elena, listen to me. Caldwell is lying. He's desperate. He's making threats because he has nothing else.
How do you know?
Because he's trapped. Thompson said they have him surrounded. He can't escape. So he's trying to create chaos, make us panic, force mistakes. Jake's voice was urgent. Don't give him what he wants. Sarah stepped forward.
Jake's right. I know Caldwell's manufacturing processes. Creating a super-concentrated batch isn't something you can do in a few hours without access to the facility.
And we shut down the facility last night. He's bluffing. But Williams's phone rang. She answered, listened, and her face crumbled.
We have 2 patients in critical condition at Mercy General. Both administered cardiazol from the emergency shipment. Both showing signs of overdose.
Elena's decision was instant.
Tell him I'll recant. Tell him I'll say whatever he wants. Just save those people. Elena, no. I'm not letting people die from me.
Her voice broke.
Jake, I appreciate everything you've done, but I won't have deaths on my conscience. I can't.
She grabbed Williams's phone.
This is Elena Torres. I'll recant my testimony. I'll withdraw everything. Just tell me which batches are poisoned.
Williams tried to pull the phone away, but Elena held tight. Caldwell's voice came back on. Smart girl. I'll send you the batch numbers. But first, I want to see you on camera. Live television. Admitting you lied. Admitting you fabricated evidence because you were angry about your cousin. Fine. Set it up. One more thing. Your father's medication. The new prescription he received from the hospital. That's poisoned too. I made sure of it personally. So you better hurry. The line went dead. Elena ran. Jake and Williams followed. They made it to Mercy General in 8 minutes. Elena's father was in his room holding a pill bottle, about to take his evening dose.
Don't!
Elena screamed. Pablo froze, the pill halfway to his mouth.
Mika, what's wrong?
Elena grabbed the bottle from his hand. Williams took it, checked the batch number against the list Caldwell had sent. Her face said everything. It's contaminated, Williams confirmed. If he'd taken this, he would have been dead in minutes. Elena collapsed into a chair. Her whole body shook.
He was telling the truth. He really poisoned them.
Not all of them, Sarah said, studying the batch numbers. Only specific ones. Targeted deliveries. He knew which hospitals would receive which batches. He orchestrated all of this. Jake's mind raced. How did he know? He's been on the run since this morning. How did he coordinate deliveries, contaminate medications, and stay ahead of the FBI? He had help, Williams said grimly. Someone on the inside. Someone with access to distribution networks and hospital records. Who? Before Williams could answer, her phone rang again. Deputy Director Thompson. We breached the building, Thompson said. Caldwell's gone. There's a tunnel system in the basement. Old utility access from when the building was constructed. He escaped before we got here. How long ago? Couldn't have been more than 20 minutes. He left files burning and a laptop playing recordings on loop. Made us think he was still here. Williams swore viciously. He played us. The whole thing was a diversion. Jake's phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. He opened it. A photograph. Elena's mother, shopping at a grocery store. Taken today. Taken by someone following her. The message below read, Your turn, Mr. Reeves. I want the physical files.
The originals from my safe. Bring them to the address I'm sending. You have 1 hour. Come alone, or Elena's entire family dies. And don't think about using copies. I'll know if they're not the originals." Jake showed Williams. Her face went gray. "He's been planning this the whole time," she said. "The medications, the threats, all of it was to separate us, isolate us, make us vulnerable." "Where's Elena's mother now?" Jake asked. Elena called her mother. No answer. Called again. Still nothing. "She always answers," Elena said, panic rising. "Always. She never ignores my calls." Williams sent agents to the grocery store. They called back 10 minutes later. Elena's mother's car was in the parking lot. Her purse was on the front seat. Her phone was on the ground next to the driver's door. She was gone, Elena screamed. The sound was raw, primal, the sound of someone who'd finally reached their breaking point. Jake held her while she fell apart. Over her shoulder, he met Williams's eyes. "I'm going after her," he said quietly. "It's a trap." "I know." "He'll kill you both." "Maybe. But I'm not letting another person die because of Marcus Caldwell. Not on my watch." Williams was quiet for a long moment, then she nodded. "The tracker in your vest is still active. I'll follow from a distance. If you can keep him talking for 15 minutes, we can get tactical teams in position." "What about the files? He wants the originals." "We still have them. They're in evidence lockup." Williams made a decision. "I'll get them. But Jake, you need to understand something. If we hand over those files, if we let Caldwell destroy the physical evidence, our case becomes much weaker. We might not get a conviction." "Then we won't hand them over," Jake stood. "We'll make him think we will."
But at the last second, we take him down. Elena grabbed his arm.
"Let me come."
"No."
"That's my mother."
"Which is exactly why you can't come. You're emotionally compromised. You'll make mistakes." Jake's voice was gentle but firm. "Trust me, Elena. I'll bring her home." Elena wanted to argue. He could see it in her eyes. But she also knew he was right.
"Promise me," she whispered. "Promise you'll bring her back alive."
Jake wanted to promise. Wanted to give her the certainty she desperately needed. But he'd made too many promises he couldn't keep. "I'll do everything in my power," he said. "That's all I can promise." It would have to be enough. Williams brought the files. Jake took them, knowing they might be his only leverage. Ranger jumped into the truck without being asked. The dog knew. They were going to war one more time. The address Caldwell sent was an old shipping warehouse near the docks. Isolated, no witnesses. Perfect place for an execution. Jake arrived with 10 minutes to spare. Williams and her team were positioning 3 blocks away, close enough to respond, far enough to stay hidden. Jake walked through the warehouse door with the files in one hand and Ranger's leash in the other. Marcus Caldwell stood in the center of the empty space. He held the gun to Elena's mother's head. The woman's face was bruised, her hands bound, but her eyes were fierce. She wasn't broken. Not yet. "Right on time," Caldwell said. "I appreciate punctuality." "Let her go. Show me the files first." Jake held up the folder. Caldwell nodded to someone Jake couldn't see. A figure stepped from the shadows, young, nervous, wearing a security guard uniform. "Check them," Caldwell ordered. The guard took the files, flipped through them quickly. "They're here, all of them." "Good," Caldwell smiled. "Now we can finally end this properly." He raised the gun. Jake's hand moved to his waist, not to a weapon, to the radio transmitter hidden there. Williams was listening. The tactical team was moving into position. He just needed to keep Caldwell talking for 90 more seconds. "Before you pull that trigger," Jake said, "tell me why.
Why, Jessica? Why all those people? Was it really just about money? Caldwell's finger tightened on the trigger. You want a villain's monologue? How predictable. I want to understand. My sister was a good person. She never hurt anyone. Why did she have to die? Because she was convenient. Caldwell's voice was cold. We needed to test how far we could reduce active ingredients before patients noticed. Jessica Reeves was young, otherwise healthy, perfect test subject. If the medication failed, we could blame her underlying condition. If it worked, we'd proven we could cut costs by 40%. Jake felt something break inside him. She was a human being, not a test subject. She was a data point. They all were. Caldwell gestured with the gun. You people don't understand business. Every industry has acceptable losses. Car manufacturers know some vehicles will have defects. Food companies know some products will cause illness. It's simple mathematics. The cost of fixing problems versus the cost of settling lawsuits. That's not mathematics. That's murder. Call it what you want. It's how the world works. Caldwell's eyes were dead, completely devoid of empathy. Your sister's death saved my company millions in manufacturing costs. Miguel Torres's suicide eliminated a potential whistleblower. Every victim served a purpose in the larger equation. Elena's mother spat at him. The saliva hit Caldwell's cheek. He wiped it away calmly. Brave, he said. Stupid, but brave. Just like your daughter. My daughter is stronger than you'll ever be, she said in heavily accented English. You think money makes you powerful? You're weak, a weak little man hiding behind lawyers and guns. Caldwell backhanded her. The sound echoed through the warehouse. Blood trickled from her lip, but she didn't cry out. Jake's muscles tensed. Ranger growled low in his throat. 60 seconds. Williams needed 60 more seconds. You're right about one thing, Jake said quickly, drawing Caldwell's attention. Money does protect people. But you made one critical mistake. What's that? You documented everything. Those files aren't just evidence of your crimes. They're evidence of everyone who helped you. Senators, judges, FDA inspectors, all the people who thought they were untouchable because you'd protect them. Caldwell smiled. And now those files are burning. The physical evidence is gone. You might have copies, but in court, copies can be challenged. Originals are what matter. Actually, a new voice said, the originals are safe. Dr. Sarah Chen stepped from the shadows behind Caldwell. She held a gun. Her hands shook, but her aim was steady. The guard beside Caldwell spun toward her. Sarah shot him in the leg. He went down screaming. I swapped the files 20 minutes ago, Sarah said. What you're burning right now are duplicates. The originals are with the FBI. Caldwell's face twisted with rage. He swung his gun toward Sarah. Jake moved. Ranger was faster. The dog launched himself at Caldwell, 70 pounds of muscle hitting him like a missile. The gun fired. The bullet went wide. Caldwell crashed to the concrete with Ranger on top of him, teeth bared at his throat. Don't move, Jake ordered, pulling his own weapon. Don't even breathe wrong. Caldwell froze. Ranger's teeth were millimeters from his jugular. The warehouse doors burst open. FBI tactical team poured in, weapons raised. Williams was with them. She walked straight to Caldwell and cuffed him personally. Marcus Caldwell, you're under arrest for kidnapping, assault, attempted murder, and about 50 other charges I'll think of on the way to the federal detention center. She hauled him to his feet. Ranger backed off, but stayed close, watching. Jake ran to Elena's mother and cut her bonds. Are you hurt? I'm fine. Tough old woman. She gripped his hands. Thank you. Thank you for saving my life. Thank your daughter. She's the brave one. Sarah appeared beside them, still shaking from the adrenaline. I've never shot anyone before. I've never even held a gun before tonight. You did good, Jake said. How did you get here? I followed you. Williams gave me a radio and told me to stay hidden unless things went wrong. Sarah looked at Caldwell being dragged away. When I heard him talk about Jessica like she was nothing, like she was just numbers on a spreadsheet, I couldn't stay hidden anymore. Jake pulled her into a hug. They stood there, two people who'd lost everything to the same monster, finally watching him fall. Williams came back. We found the contaminated medications. Hospital pharmacies are pulling them now.
We got to most patients in time. 2 are critical but stable. The rest will recover fully. And the files? Sarah was telling the truth. She swapped them before Jake left the FBI office. The originals are in evidence lockup. What Caldwell destroyed were color photocopies. Williams almost smiled. He never even checked. What about his co-conspirators, the people named in the files? Arrests are happening simultaneously across 6 states. Senator Morrison was taken into custody 20 minutes ago. Judge Richardson was arrested during a golf game. Deputy Director Thornton turned himself in. Williams's smile widened. The whole network is collapsing. Everyone's trying to cut deals, testify against everyone else. It's beautiful chaos. Jake felt Elena's mother squeeze his arm. My daughter. I need to see my daughter. I'll take you to her. They arrived at the hospital to find Elena pacing the waiting room. When she saw her mother, she screamed and ran. They collided in the middle of the corridor, both crying, both speaking rapid Spanish, both holding on like they'd never let go. Pablo was there too, standing with the help of a walker, tears streaming down his face. The whole family came together in that hospital corridor and wept with relief. Jake stood back, giving them space. Williams joined him. You did good work tonight, she said quietly. We all did. Jake, I spoke with the U.S. attorney. They want you to testify at Caldwell's trial. About Jessica. About the investigation. Everything. Jake nodded. I'll be there. There's something else. The pharmaceutical companies Caldwell destroyed with his predatory practices, they're forming a coalition. They want to offer compensation to victims' families, including Jessica's estate. I don't want their money. I know, but there are other families who need it. Your testimony would help establish the compensation fund, give voice to people who can't speak for themselves.
Jake thought about Jessica, about all the nights he'd sat by her bedside, watching her slip away, feeling helpless. Maybe he couldn't save her, but he could help save others. I'll do it, he said. Elena appeared, her face tear-streaked but radiant.
Jake, my mother told me what you did, what you risked.
I promised I'd bring her home.
You kept your promise. Elena's voice broke. Thank you doesn't seem like enough.
It's enough. She hugged him. Over her shoulder, Jake saw Sarah talking with Pablo and Elena's mother, explaining the medical details of his recovery. Saw Ranger sitting patiently while a small child in a wheelchair petted him. Saw Williams coordinating with her team, building the case that would put Caldwell away forever. For the first time since Jessica died, Jake felt something like peace. The trial took 6 months to prepare. The prosecution built an airtight case using the files from Caldwell's safe, Elena's documented evidence, testimony from dozens of victims, and expert analysis from Dr. Chen. Caldwell's lawyers tried every trick they knew. They challenged evidence, attacked witnesses, filed motion after motion. Nothing worked. Jake testified on day 3. He told the jury about Jessica,
about watching her die while believing she was receiving proper medical care, about discovering the medication that was supposed to save her had been deliberately weakened to increase corporate profits. "My sister trusted the system," Jake said from the witness stand. She trusted that when she took medication prescribed by her doctor, filled by a licensed pharmacist, manufactured by a reputable company, it would be safe. That trust killed her. He looked directly at Caldwell. And the man responsible has shown no remorse, no guilt, no recognition that he destroyed hundreds of lives for money.
He sees us as acceptable losses, data points in a profit margin.
The jury was crying. Half of them were crying openly. Elena testified on day 7. She was calm, articulate, devastating. She walked the jury through 2 years of documentation, showed them patterns of abuse, explained how Caldwell deliberately targeted vulnerable populations who couldn't fight back.
"He chose us because he thought we were powerless,"
Elena said.
"Poor people, immigrants, people without lawyers or political connections. He thought we'd be too scared to speak up."
She looked at the jury.
"He was wrong."
Dr. Chen testified about the pharmaceutical fraud. She explained manufacturing processes, showed how Caldwell knowingly distributed substandard medications, demonstrated the conspiracy to hide defective batches. The defense tried to discredit her. They brought up her firing, suggested she was bitter, implied she fabricated evidence. Sarah didn't flinch. "I lost my medical license because I refused to stay silent about patient safety. I lost my career because I prioritized lives over profits. And I'd do it again, every single time." The trial lasted 8 weeks. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Jake was in the courtroom when the verdict was read. He sat between Elena and Sarah, holding their hands. When the foreman said guilty for the 47th time, Elena sobbed. Sarah squeezed Jake's hand so hard it hurt, and Jake felt something release in his chest, something he'd been carrying since the day Jessica died. The judge sentenced Caldwell to 40 years in federal prison without possibility of parole. He also ordered the dissolution of Caldwell Pharmaceuticals and the creation of a victim compensation fund worth $800 million. "Mr. Caldwell," the judge said, "you corrupted the systems designed to protect public health. You preyed on vulnerable populations. You destroyed lives for profit. The sentence I'm imposing reflects the gravity of your crimes and ensures you will never have the opportunity to harm anyone again." Caldwell showed no emotion. He was led away in chains, still believing he'd somehow escape, still convinced his money and connections would save him. They wouldn't. He would die in prison. Alone. Forgotten. Outside the courthouse, Elena held another press conference. This time she was joined by 50 other victims, families who'd lost loved ones, patients who'd suffered, communities that had been targeted.
"Today we proved that justice is possible," Elena said. "That ordinary people can stand up to corruption and win. That courage matters more than money."
She looked directly at the cameras.
"If you're watching this and you're being victimized by someone powerful, someone who thinks they're untouchable, please know this. You're not alone. There are people who will fight with you, organizations that will help you.
You don't have to stay silent." Jake watched from the sidelines. Williams stood beside him.
"What's next for you?"
she asked. "I'm not sure yet." Jake looked down at Ranger, who was wearing his service vest and soaking up attention from reporters. "I've been thinking about starting a foundation, something to help veterans find purpose after they leave the service. Maybe pair them with service dogs, give them a mission."
"Jessica would like that."
"Yeah, she would." Williams handed him a business card. If you're serious about the foundation, call this number. It's a contact at the Veterans Administration. She's been trying to expand service dog programs, but needs people with your expertise. Jake pocketed the card. Thanks. Thank you for everything you did on this case. We couldn't have done it without you. I didn't do it for you. I did it for Jessica, and for everyone like her. I know. That's what made you so effective.
6 months after the trial, Jake stood on the porch of the Mitchell family house, the one where Jessica had spent childhood summers, the one with the ocean view she'd loved. He'd bought it with part of the compensation settlement, thinking he'd fix it up and sell it. Instead, he'd turned it into a training facility. The house now hosted 6 veterans at a time, each paired with a rescue dog being trained for service work. They lived together, healed together, found purpose together. Elena had helped design the program. She'd finished her college degree and was now in law school, studying to become a victims' rights attorney. She volunteered at the foundation twice a week, teaching veterans how to advocate for themselves. Dr. Sarah Chen ran the medical side of the program, ensuring veterans received proper care while they trained. She'd gotten her medical license reinstated after the trial, and now specialized in treating patients harmed by defective medications. The foundation was called Second Chances. Elena had suggested the name. Jake watched as one of the veterans, a former Marine named Marcus, worked with his assigned dog in the yard. The dog was a rescue, just like Marcus. Both of them damaged by their pasts. Both of them learning to trust again. Ranger lay on the porch beside Jake, graying now at the muzzle, but still alert, still ready. The dog had earned his retirement, but refused to take it. He helped train the younger dogs, showing them how to work, how to serve, how to save lives. Elena appeared in the doorway. "Dinner's ready. Are you coming in?" "In a minute." She sat beside him. They'd become close over the past year, not romantically. Something deeper. 2 people bound together by shared trauma and shared triumph. "I got the acceptance letter today," she said quietly. "Full scholarship to Georgetown Law. They want me to focus on pharmaceutical litigation and victims' rights." Jake smiled. "That's amazing."
Congratulations.
"It's because of you. Because you showed me that standing up matters. That one person can make a difference." "You showed me the same thing. You stood up when everyone else was too scared. You spoke truth when silence was easier." Elena leaned her head on his shoulder. "We did it together. All of us." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the ocean. Somewhere out there, Jessica's ashes had been scattered. Jake had done it himself 6 months after the trial. He'd said goodbye properly, told her he was sorry he hadn't protected her, promised to protect others in her name. He was keeping that promise. His phone buzzed. Text from Williams. "New case. Corporate fraud targeting elderly patients. Could use your help." Jake looked at the message, looked at the foundation he'd built, looked at Elena, who was already becoming the advocate she was meant to be. He typed back, "I'm in." Because this was his mission now. This was what Jessica's death had taught him.
That evil exists, that powerful people will always try to exploit the vulnerable. But that courage exists too, and love, and the simple, stubborn determination to do what's right. One person couldn't save everyone, but one person could save someone. And if enough people made that choice, if enough voices refused to stay silent, then maybe the world could change. One fight at a time. One victim at a time. One act of courage at a time. Jake stood up. Ranger rose with him, ready for whatever came next. "Come on, boy," Jake said. "We've got work to do." Elena smiled. "We all do." Inside the house, veterans and dogs were gathered around the dinner table, laughing,
sharing stories, healing. Outside, the ocean rolled in steady waves, carrying away the past and bringing in the future. And somewhere, Jake liked to think, Jessica was watching, proud of what he'd built from his grief, proud that her death had meant something, proud that he'd found a way to turn pain into purpose.
The fight against corruption would never end. There would always be another Marcus Caldwell, another victim who needed help, another battle to fight. But Jake was ready. They all were, because they'd learned the most important lesson of all, that ordinary people, armed with nothing but truth and courage and the refusal to look away, could defeat monsters. They'd done it once, they'd do it again, as many times as it took. For Jessica, for Miguel, for every victim who'd suffered in silence, for everyone who thought they were alone. This was their second chance, and they weren't going to waste it.